I've been in the trucking industry for several years, but I've been dispatching for 2 of those years. And at one point I was an owner operator until I decided to switch it up to where I could do something in the industry where I could still have a life. So that's why I personally chose to start dispatching freight from home. The purpose of this video is to show you the real. I'm gonna get right to it. I'm gonna talk about how much I made in my first 90 days as an independent freight dispatcher. I'll walk you through each month and sum it up afterward, but I think y'all should know the real and the full details of what was actually happening. And stay to the end if you want to know if this is something that I think that you can do as well. I want to let you guys know I had 1 truck at the time, 1 carrier, and I was charging 8%. So keep those things in mind. So I ended up getting this carrier by marketing my services on Facebook and constantly looking through groups on Facebook. And during that, looking through the groups and stuff like that, I kept seeing people complaining that they needed a driver for their truck because their truck had been sitting there, right? My at the time fiance is also a driver. So long story short, I posted that I knew an excellent driver. They had no accidents, they had no problems, and they could fill an empty seat, but it comes with stipulations. I let them know they'll drive for you, but we come as a package. I'll dispatch and they'll drive. It took a few days, and then I got an inbox from a guy who said that he had 1 truck, and at the time he had 1 truck and it wasn't moving, just like other people have been saying in the group, and he needed a driver for it. So we exchanged information. I hopped on a 3-way call, and from there we just built on that relationship, and we worked together for a really long time actually. And that brings us to my first 90 days of pay. In my first 30 days I made $2,289.68, and you can see the screenshot. Each line is a different week of pay. Once you total it up, that first month comes out to $2,289.68. And the next 30 days, I made $1,665.96, as you can see. And the next 30 days, I made $2,626.96. And this is on QuickBooks. You can see where it says paid and deposited. If I open up each one of these, you can see an invoice where it actually says what was owed. You can see the whole invoice and see that it was actually paid. This is QuickBooks. For anybody who uses QuickBooks, they know what it looks like. That brings us to a total of $6,582.60 in my first 90 days as a dispatcher. Again, that was me charging 8%, 1 truck, and 1 carrier. I want to talk about some of the challenges that I experienced during my first 90 days because I think that's important for y'all to hear too. Obviously, like most of you, finding carriers was very hard for me to do until I got creative. Of course, I found a couple more, but it took some time. Sometimes people would say that they're interested in your services and they'll fall off for whatever reason. Maybe their friend became a dispatcher or someone in their family or something like that, and they don't want to work with you, or maybe you just don't mesh well with people. Because I know for me, you know, no shade, but it was like a lot of men that would reach out to me, and some of the older, you know, drivers can be a little bit aggressive, and I don't deal well with that. So that was very hard for me in my first 90 days. And you know, just carriers being flaky, like I said, that was like a really big one for me. They'll have you sign all this information and get through this whole process and never reach back out to you. And also, like, watching negative comments on Facebook and just seeing how people were saying like dispatching is not worth it and all this stuff. And like, I had spent all this time and money like trying to learn this and get my business started, and I was like, you know, but as you can see, like, I didn't let that stop me from what I was doing. That's how I overcame those challenges, because I just realized, like, first of all, I had to stop being so hard on myself. I had to realize I had never done this before. I had never owned a business. In fact, I was one of the people that used to be like, I would never become a business owner because it seems like it's just too much for me. Like, that was the kind of person that I was. So I stopped being hard on myself because I realized how far I had actually come, especially because I did get a carrier and I was booking loads and I was still like, oh, but I want more, you know. So just make sure, if that's you, like, that's something that can make life a lot easier. Stop doing that to yourself. Like, take a look back and see how actually far that you've actually come. And I know it sounds cliche, but like, I think about in my first 30 days or right before I got this carrier, I was so nervous. Like, when your brain is filled with that negativity, you don't have space to like act on what you're supposed to act on, because your brain is literally filled up with negative thoughts. So that's one thing that I did to overcome those challenges. Another thing was I really just had to stop comparing my business growth to other people's business growth, especially in the beginning, because like I said, in the beginning, it was one point where I posted ads on Craigslist every week just for people to turn around and call me, and I wasn't answering because I was nervous, or I felt like I didn't know what to say. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, like, I was doing that, like, or people would call and I just wouldn't answer. And I'm like, you know, at one point it was frustrating because I felt like I was wasting my money. But at the same time, I was complaining that nothing was happening with my business, when in reality, I was letting my nerves, get to me. And I noticed a lot of you guys doing that too. I ain't gonna call nobody out, but like a lot of you guys will say that, you will see other people getting carriers in the business. Like they'll make posts in the Facebook group like, oh, I got my first 2 carriers. And you guys are like, well, I haven't gotten anything. And I'll ask you like, well, what have you done? And some of y'all be saying nothing for real. And I'm like, how are you gonna expect to get clients if you don't put yourself out there? It's just like, if Uber would have never advertised their business, you wouldn't have known that you could get a ride. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to do something. You got to do a little bit more than post on Facebook. And stop comparing your business to other people's business growth. Because while you're doing that, some of you, not to be rude, but are not actively doing what you're supposed to do. The person that you're comparing yourself to, they're actively doing what they're supposed to do. They're looking for clients as if it is their job. So, you can't compare your growth to other people's. And I had to stop doing that. I became consistent because I was not always consistent, but I became consistent looking for clients because I had made myself a schedule. I literally would plan out my day from the morning. Like I have a morning schedule, a day schedule, and evening schedule. Like I even have a schedule, face wash routine, etc. And then I'm in the bed by a certain time. That's how my schedule was. I was super strict on myself. Quit paying attention to those Facebook group comments. If it's not a comment that says I need a dispatcher, I don't pay attention to them. I don't pay attention to them because they still have those comments to this day. People are still in the Facebook groups today looking for dispatchers. So quit paying attention to all of the other negative comments from the negative Nancy's. They did one thing and they failed, and now they're saying dispatching is this, or some people are saying dispatching is a scam. I'm not saying that there aren't dispatchers out here that have tried to scam people, because unfortunately they are, but there are carriers that have done the same. So when it comes to business, you need to realize that it might be a small risk that you're taking. And if you're not okay with that, maybe business is not for you at the moment. And to answer the question of do I think that you can do this today? Absolutely. I think there will be some different changes that you would have to make, because in today's market, it is a bit different from when I first started. When I started, summer was coming up and then it was going directly into holiday season. So rates and lows and everything were picking up. What I personally think, I don't think that a lot of people would go for 8% today, especially because I have been an owner operator and I had different skills, and that's why I was able to charge a bit higher, because I was doing a bit more for my clients at the time. It's not a lot of people who would go for 8%, so I think that you absolutely can do numbers like that, but you would need more than one truck to do so. And if you want to learn how to do that, I definitely have a training. You can go to brightmoonllc.com or visit the link in my description box right under this video, and I can teach you how to do that as well. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.